Hi, YouTube. I hope you're doing okay. Please forgive the fact that I'm not giving any notices on these live streams. It does give me the opportunity to get on here without any troll-like behavior. Then if my subscribers or other people do come in, I know they really want to be here and it wasn't really like a pre-planned try to sabotage me with I don't have any moderators right now. So if somebody comes in and says or does something that's going to get me struck, I don't want to take that chance. And if somebody does, um, I will make another channel, but I'll make sure that um, everybody on God's green earth knows who you are and what you tried to do to me. And I see now that will bleed into what my topic of is always pinpointing the narcissistic nature of our governments around the world. Right now, the people in Ohio have pets dying from the water and in the air, and my government is saying that it's safe. Well, animals don't die when situations are safe, and we do have money going to other countries. I'm a firm believer, if you wanna help another country with food or clothing, have at it, but you wanna give them anything else before the needs of our people, anything else actually, to me, is out of the question. I mean, be it from, medical supplies, I guess I should add in there, but, helping people with their wars, that's not something I really I've never it's a war machine, the money goes overseas, they divide it amongst themselves and give meager subsidies to the people of our own country. Right now, NASDAQ, not only NASDAQ, but FEMA should be down in Ohio helping those people. And yes, they should have fresh drinking water till this whole thing is assessed. But that's not happening. But we all know they're pretty good at pushing out medical and science and then coming back later and saying, well, we made a mistake. But you're not supposed to say anything when they make mistakes, you know. So, yeah, is anybody here? I can't really tell. Oh, maybe there is one. Hi. Maybe you can't say hi. Maybe you're just like if you don't have a YouTube channel, you can't comment. It could be something like that. I'm not sure. What I'm really gonna do is just shoot the breeze with you for a while, roll some cigarettes, and talk about what's on my mind today. And the narcissistic nature of our government is what's on my mind. You know, them pushing things on us that go outside of what our laws are. They're criminal. They're acting criminal, and we've got the government investigating itself. How about some outside private investigators? I used to know a guy, and I can't think of his last name right now. Anthony. He lives down in Minneapolis. Was a private investigator. Um, we went out on a very cool date. He was involved or loved somebody else, and I was in sorta not seeing my ex at the time. We didn't live together. We just sorta would communicate on the phone, that type of thing. So, me and this guy went out on a date just to have somebody to go. We went to a party of a friend's house and had a really nice time. Most men aren't that honest, and he felt the same way about me, and we had a really good friendship. Um, got a little worse because he did and I did end up going back to the people that we were separated from, and both of us got freaking crushed. But that's the way it goes sometimes, right? You know how that goes. But yeah, it was a good date. The only weird thing is, so before we had to go or did go out on this date, he had to do his laundry. So first we went to the laundromat, and another weird thing is he had a classic car, a Camaro, and I think he named his car something like Clarence, or I can't remember what it was, but yeah, he was an odd duck, but he was a private investigator. That's my point. Where are people that actually do investigate things in life right now for the people of the world, Where are you? Aren't you inquisitive? Aren't you investigating? We're waiting, you know, because we can't trust the government to investigate itself, obviously. When these people, okay, here's another for instance on that type of thing. We've got Hunter Biden, a felon with a record that is not supposed to purchase a firearm. He lied on his application to get a firearm. That on top of his felonies is another felony, and it's punishable by, $250,000 and probably at least 10 years in jail. But yet, there he is, still living large and free. God knows if he's still on crack or if he's, dating hoes or whatever he's doing. I mean, not like dating hoes is maybe the most criminal thing in the whole world. Give me a second here. I'm gonna try and open my window. Well, yeah, I can. Oh, okay, that should be a little better. So, yeah, that's what's on my mind today. Just the shady government and uh one of my favorite channels, or really actually my favorite channel because of the spiritual connection and the man's intelligence, even though people try to demean my friend, is Robin's Hood. Got a strike yesterday. I was right in the middle of watching that video and it got copyright, I guess is what it was. So I don't know if he'll be on today, but I thought, well, even if he's not and he's out there, um, he's got other channels too, so they're not gonna really entirely stop him. So that's a good thing. But if he's made some predictions and people laugh at him predicting things, but it's really not that funny when they come true. And he shows the ones that have. I mean, it's not actually all just hit and miss. Okay, one time he was saying that there was gonna be some bad things happen at Home Depot. The day before it did, he pointed to his hat, Home Depot. I mean, just little things like that, I mean, when that happens over and over in a person's life, it's really not a coincidence. No, no, it's not. You know, where'd he get his information? The Spirit of God, you know? Isn't it the weirdest thing? And that's what really, with deja vu and things that happen like that, like you've been through it before, you've been through it before, is what Jason Bergiers over at archaics.com would call the simulacrum, like we're in a false reality. That doesn't mean we're not real. that just means where we're at isn't real. Wouldn't you agree that something outside of here seems far more real than the things that we're going through? I don't know, that's just kinda my take on things too. I think he's, absolutely got a point, you know, so hello? Anybody there? Oh, yeah, I know, yes, I should have, put out some feelers and let you guys have some notice on this, but, I think you can understand why I probably didn't, you know? And I probably will next time. It's just, not today. I had a message I had to get out here, and today isn't the day to, notify my enemies, you know, so that's why. So, I am probably going to just address the channel that started a smear campaign on me, not to smear them back, but, to stop it from happening because well, I don't know that it'll actually stop it and it might escalate it, and I am gonna give that some thought. I'm not really just probably gonna jump into it, but I've been considering it, you know, probably not. You know, second thought, you know, it's like, why bother? And that's probably good too, because I can make new friends out here, people with more, things in common than the ones that I don't have things in common with, you know? And I'm gonna say it like it is, and I don't care if you think I've got a fat head or not, or any other part of me is fat. Like a lot of the women that came against me and set me up for a fall, along with the clowns that they paid like a whore to watch. Yeah, that's how I'm feeling today. So, not not that if you're actually doing a service for people and you should get paid for what you're doing, that you don't deserve to get paid. That's not what I'm saying at all. For like your content or your talents or anything else in the world. It's just I've had this type of thing happen to me a lot in my life, you know. People that didn't even know me and um would take a look or listen and not like what I'm saying. And a lot of times it's because they don't have the gumption to get up here and say what I'm saying for themselves. And yeah, it is jealousy in a lot of different ways, men and women. I think some of you probably know just what I'm talking about, you know, when you're putting yourself out on here and leaving yourself open for anybody's whatever they choose to say or do. Yeah, we have every right to probably come back and say something and or whatever. That's the part I'm considering. I don't know. But anyway, cheers to you. I hope your day's going wonderful. Happy new week. Yeah. So I got off here yesterday and I did my exercises and I felt great. So I don't know if you exercise, but if you don't, there's no time like the present to start. And quite seriously, I'm not your typical 65-year-old. And if you had the injuries like I had, and you could still motivate with some sort of strength, you're going to be grateful. If you used to keep pretty active and you can't anymore, don't give up. I mean, do at least a little bit of something. I know I sound naggy on this, you know, But people, it is so important. Now, you wouldn't want a 65-year-old little old grandma beating you in arm wrestling or running or anything like that, would you? Wouldn't you? I mean, if you've had accidents and you can't run, that's one thing, but, really, it's something to consider because even when I was younger, um, guys my age couldn't really do much with me even when they wanted to, so not much has really changed in my life. So, yeah, true thing. I have been into bodybuilding my entire life, but big time from the age of 9 on up. I got assaulted when I was 9, along with when I was a baby too, but after that, it's like, "Okay, I am gonna start hurting people probably." I really never did as far as going after somebody first. They always would do something to me first. I'm not quite much like that. Well, I sorta am still, but not really. Not really. There's something brewing inside of me that the dark cabal does not want to see. They can pretend all they want to pretend, but there's something that they know. Well, their time is short anyway. A lot of people really don't realize how fearful, like, my government so-called officials actually are. Can you imagine being one of them right now? Huh, that's funny. I wouldn't have wanted to be them before this or after. Anybody that thinks that they have the mind to rule over masses of people in any type of, and if you're not God, you don't have the capabilities or the Son of God. If you're not actually the King of Kings, you might want to consider not being in a public office. I'm all for localizing governments. Like we have our own state, would still be the United States. It's just that we wouldn't have Washington, D.C. And I want them out of here. I mean, first they invade my Native American country, and then they claim it for their own and give the people that the country belongs to, doling out their own goods to them as they rob every precious metal and drop of oil and water and everything off of our land. Like the Nestle company going into the Great Lakes, I think it is, they went into Lake Erie and they're still doing it as far as I know. Um, I'm not putting disinformation. This did happen or is still happening. Disclaimer, have no clue that they're selling our water to China. They were, whether they still are or not, I'm not quite sure. So that's not only unethical and treasonous to the people of the United States, it's dirty and underhanded, and for as far as the planet's concerned, that's a big mistake. And there are, and people say, well, it'd be so expensive. Well, as far as distilling salt water and the plants and there's as from what I understand, there's a plant that does this in Africa. I think it's up towards, like, going towards Morocco or Turkey, up on that, like, somewhere on the eastern coast of Africa going up towards the northern part, somewhere up and around there that they have. And I could be wrong, it could be down by the Congo, but I think it's on the eastern northeastern side of Africa that they're distilling salt water for drinking water, you know, and people put all kinds of money into this world when the most important resource source is water. And that too is another thing that I shared on my Facebook was an uh, post about the electrical batteries that go into these electrical vehicles and the cobalt used in the different things that are mined by children and the toxicity of the batteries that doesn't go away for 25,000 years or 30. They're not quite sure, but they estimated 25,000 years for these toxins to get out of our environment. You know, that's a long time when all they would have to do is develop the water-powered car. Look it up, by Stanley Mayer. He was murdered. His brother, got out there and was talking about it when all that happened back in the day, but you can run just like a steam engine, you know? And you could say, "Well, there's other things to it." Yes, it is, but it's clean energy, and it doesn't require filthy batteries that have to be replaced every 5 or 6 years. It's actually a solution, you know, but they don't want you to be able to go to your garden hose and fill your car up and motivate for less money than the, um, petrodollar brings in while they usher in this new EV bullshit. EV kinda bugs me because I do have a grandchild they call Evie. Eve, E yeah, bastards. There's some fucking toads, you know? Anyway, all of them. If Elon Musk cared about the planet, he would have developed a water-powered motor, you know? And that's the truth. Just like the Tesla coil. We could be powering with something about a 10-pound motor of perpetual motion of a coil to get that one coil that could fire like 5 other coils with, ongoing perpetual motion and electricity for the whole world. One city could be powered on a motor of about 10 pounds. And that's another thing that Africa's doing. There's a little guy over there, more than one person out in this world that are developing their own Tesla coil powered generators and things like that. But to get it patented and to get it out into the public eye, that's another thing, you know. So, yeah, a lot of stuff going on that really doesn't even need to go on. I mean, the killing of all the chickens and livestock. Yeah, I got a really big kick out of last year, how all these cattle were just like and they were Black Angus, and they were said to have, uh, what was it? What did they get sick from? I forgot what they said they got sick from. Something to do with bloating or something, but actually the only way that happens to a cow or a calf or, any kinda bovine is that you give them, like, some kinda grain, like with a horse. If you give a horse grain after you've ridden it, you have to walk your horse because they get really hot all of a sudden from that grain builds up sugar in their system. You have to walk it off and cool them, or if you've ridden them hard, you have to walk them down before you stable them because if you don't, they're going to get the chills and catch a cold and maybe die. Well, what happens with the bovine is they give them grain and they don't give them water, and then it doesn't even have to be very hot outside. They're gonna keel over, especially with a black coat, you know? So that's exactly what happened, and I know because I worked out in the I work for the people that run the Cattlemen's Association, so a lot of them big ranchers. So I know just what I'm talking about. But and that kinda struck me as odd why more cattlemen and farmers and dairy farmers weren't coming up and saying like when I did when I first mentioned it. It's like, that's not what happens. They don't just keel over because it's 80 degrees out. If that were the case, there would be no more cattle left on the planet. That would have happened before mankind even walked the earth. Cattle would have been dropping dead and they would have never had babies. And all of them in one pasture, like 500 dead black Angus just laying there sideways with their stomachs bloated, and no other cattle people like, speaking up about it. It's like, "Okay, why?" Same with the, chickens. There's no bird flu in Minnesota at all, none. You know, they look at chickens that have, they molt every spring. They lose their feathers. The reason for this is so they can mate, and they take the feathers and they line their nest with their feathers. They put their eggs in there after the male has, um, copulated with her to fertilize it, and then she sits on them to incubate them, and the babies are born. Every single spring, chickens do this. This is not bird flu. This is a natural reaction of what chickens do. And if they don't get enough light in the wintertime or they get too much, there's different reasons why your chickens won't lay or why they might molt or different reasons like that. But what they're telling people isn't true. And there hasn't been one sick bird in my yard. I have 5 acres. I have a lot of birds up in all the trees around me, and not one of them are sick. They're saying that, wild birds will drop feces and that domesticated birds will come in contact with that, and that's how they get that. I don't know why other people that know about livestock aren't speaking up on these topics. A few, but not as many as should be, and I am, so why aren't other people? I don't get it. It's like they're just rolling over and playing dead for the establishment, you know? That's the way it makes me feel. It's like, why? Because, are they getting something out of it from the government? I don't know. What could that possibly be? Unless their farm fails and they get some kinda dividend that somebody else might not get, I don't know, but that's how I take it, like, they're they're essentially being paid off to fail, and that's happened a lot in history with the farmers. I watched it, I think it was in, 1976, a lot of things happened that year. Dumping grain out on the ground before we would sell it to Russia because we were in a Cold War with them at the time. So we would let people starve before we would put that grain in boxcars and put it on a train and send it to a ship somewhere so it could feed some people. And now and there's so much grain and grain fields out west and even in Canada and, um, I mean, that's why they say, like, the waving fields of grain, you know, in one of our funky ass songs, because it's true. But now they're trying to act like some other smaller nation the size of one of our states is like the great breadbasket of America, like we actually are, and they're trying to destroy, you know, because we don't need other countries. We can be totally self-sufficient like we always have been, but we have government officials running this into the ground for their own measures, for what they can get out of it. Pretty sad, you know? So, I don't know, just a few things that were on my mind today about that, and then I was gonna kinda touch on, people that I know are, like, on the dating scene and younger people that, first off, I mean, I can't tell anybody what to do with your relationship, but if they're a narcissist and they have that, we can't say we can't prove it's evil, but it is a mental illness, and that doesn't go away. Yeah, it can be managed, but you're gonna have to decide if you really wanna live with that forever or not. That's my point with people because, as soon as you put up the barrier and you say, even if you still have that person, or even if it's like a family member and they've got those dark triad traits, um, how close you get to them will determine on how much you suffer. There's no question about it, you know. So I might have a little bit of noise too. I do have my dishwasher going. So if the pump goes on, I might keep talking or I might shut it down. I don't know if you're able to chat, if it doesn't bother you, that's fine. But either way, we'll play it by ear and see how terrible it actually is or not, you know. So, but yeah, I mean it's okay, I have made the mistake of bringing narcissists back into my life, and believe me when I say it was a mistake because having my boundaries allows me to sleep better at night. And if you're not crying over what somebody said or did to you, I mean, it may not matter if they're not close to you, but if they're family members or if you married one or if you're dating somebody like that, you've let these people close to you close enough to do you harm. And if they didn't finish you off the first time, they're going to keep trying and they're probably going to try harder than they did before. That's a fact. One more cigarette. Yeah, I'll just sit here and chain smoke. That's one of my favorite songs is uh oh yeah. Now I can't even remember the name of it. Is Hero by Coldplay and the Chainsmokers, if you're familiar with that. I love it. Good song. Pretty oh, no, wait, that's no, it's, Something Just Like This, I think it's called. So, yeah, but that's what it is, yeah. I used to be a huge Coldplay fan right up until about, uh, 2 years ago. They did a new album, and I liked, like, one song on it, which wasn't a good sign. It's like, "Whoa, did you people ever lose it or what?" Because, it sucked. They have a video, and it's called Daddy, and, it's a little girl in a rowboat, and it really touches my heart because It's like, there's a whale in the cartoon, and it's like God talking to her, and I've been out on the water in my rowboat by myself in that same situation, so when I saw that video and heard the lyrics to the song, it's like, "Okay, people, would you get the hell out of my head? Because I know you're not a little girl who was out on a rowboat with that stocking hat on her head just like I was, so what the fuck is all this shit?" That's what it made me feel like because it just happened to look just like me, just happened to be my exact situation, but that must be a coincidence, right? Must be a coincidence that something like, the Statue of Liberty looks like me or, the Columbia Picture lady or all this shit. That yeah, it's just a coincidence. I'm sure it is, you know, whatever, right? Well, it's not a coincidence. These people are trying to wipe out the spirituality of the female. They say that the female energy is trying to take over and cannibalize the man. That's bullshit. I have 2 sons. The last thing in the world I would ever wanna do is do something on this planet that would harm my little guys that are huge and terrible right now, but nonetheless, put any kind of a barrier in between them and some kinda good life that they could make for theirselves. There's no flipping way on this planet that loving female energy would cannibalize a man's energy or anything to do with that. That's total rhetoric and total lies. Now, the Baphomet energy that works inside men and women that work together in their brains like that for the dark force, yeah, that type of female, but that's not typical and traditional female energy. That's mixed with male energy, and you can't expect that to be stable or have any type of balance. And that's why, my friends, that the woman Aquarian with the balance or the water, giving you water, you know, it's not the man. It's not a man Aquarian at all. And the woman with the balances for that weighing your heart against who you are, like they did in Egyptian times. And the first Aquarian depiction of that is a female. But there's a lot of people that will push it differently, and I don't care. I mean, if you're a Aquarian man and you have that same spirit, if you feel the Christ spirit from the male figure in the situation in the ether, that's cool, good for you, and I hope you feel the female one as the tender-hearted not one, not the one that's, the author of confusion, you know, that guy. 'Cause women don't act like that. If you run across a female that's not acting very womanly, then you know. I mean, I'm not talking feminine or sexual, or I'm talking womanly, the integrity that it takes to hold a family together or a whole community or the whole world. That's the strength of a real woman. So if you run across some other clowns, you know that they're infected with that Baphomet spirit, that's nothing to do with I can define a woman, what a real woman is, you know. Maybe women have PMS, so their partners will baby them a little bit more, then she could feel really feminine and maybe do something special for him, like, maybe a little of his work or, um, make him a nice meal or something that's, like, totally unexpected in return, that sharing in that relationship. Not that I've ever had that. I'm just speculating what PMS might be for. The interaction of when you're courting and you're dating and, family making and the tenderness between 2 people that it takes to actually function in a healthy relationship. But people would make jokes about, "Oh, well, she's probably menstruating," or whatever their filthy jokes are like that, in a time when a woman's probably in great pain, all kinds of ways, like, swelling or headaches or, not to mention the bleeding to death, which I almost did. I really did. One time, I bled for 21 days straight, but that was just one time. So if you can imagine, that was from injuries that I had, you know. So mine wasn't really typical. I had to beg God to help me, and He did, you know. But I think that PMS, there's a reason for it. And if you're with a lady and she's going through that, unless she's just you might not want to, but if she's going through that type of thing, it's because she's meant to be coddled a little bit because she's the one that's always, if she does that is, coddles her children and her husband. I would think that that might be a normal thing still. I hope for women nowadays, I hope, in the dating scene that, um, courting comes back. I hope men start asking if the girls have fathers or one of their parents for permission to be with their little girl, especially the girls. I want to see more protection out here for young ladies that they don't have, that our society is trying to take away from them. And yes, it is a scary world for them. And that's what men were supposed to be for. What now? And do you really want a gun-toting mama or a warrior? There's part of my spirit that just screams at men that made me as strong as I am like that. I mean, I'm glad in one way, but another way, they brought something out in me they probably shouldn't have, you know? And that's what this government's doing to me as we speak, you know? It's hard for me to listen to what's going on in the political scene. Um, I don't get angry like I used to. Boy, they used to really get me smoking hot, but no, not anymore. But now I just look at them like they're so disgusting. I can't believe anybody would want to rule. Think they would have the intelligence to rule over other human beings any kind of. I mean, most societies have always picked like the strongest, um, most loving type of personalities to lead them. Not always, but typically, until we started getting into the monarchies and that type. And that's what we tried to stop in the United States. We tried to stop these families that had been in positions of power for decades and centuries from infiltrating our country, but yet here they are, and it's the same bloodline, you know? Well, I'll probably cut this off now. I just wanted to really I don't know, I'm gonna be back with my other videos. I didn't feel like, doing any editing on that, uh, one on my camera right now, and I figured, well, this is okay anyway because I'm not gonna run out of time when I'm talking. My camera's not gonna shut off for a time limit or any of that type of thing, so, um, yeah. I hope everybody's doing good. Uh Just like I say, shooting the breeze. What's going on in the world? Well, more of the same, but do you feel like we can make a difference? Because really, the only thing I could think to do besides writing my legislator and getting a petition going, if that does get underway, I'll let you know where it is so you can sign it. Um, as far as charging Congress with not upholding our freedom of speech. We can't do anything else if our ability to talk is gone. That's the biggest issue right now on the books, you know. So I hope you agree. I hope you can think of something in your area to make things better and a little more clear on that note for everybody around the world because they're trying to silence our ability to communicate with the truth, you know. And I'm sure you probably have people in your daily life that are trying to stifle your um, ability to communicate or make your world go around, that type of thing. And yeah, we can help each other a lot, but helping other people might be the way to go for some of us. And all I can do, like I say, is to try and start petitions, try and make people, yeah, we're aware, but actually action and action. Do something about it, you know? So that's what's on my mind today, everybody. I hope you're wonderful. I'll talk to you soon. Just stay chill, you know, don't let these uh, monsters get to you because that's what they do. You know, they love it. But then on the other hand, maybe they need to see a little bit of what they're doing to other people as far as being a time at all. Don't apologize. That's justice. That's righteous anger. So don't feel bad one bit if they bring that out in you, it's theirs. They can have it. And don't feel ashamed because you know who you are in the inside. And it took all that to bring that out of you. And it's like, yeah, it was buried deep. They should keep it buried, but they didn't. So just give it to them and let it go. And then you will feel better. Or I think you know what I mean. You kind of ride on the wave of like Satan's trying to say feel guilty, but in deep in your soul you'll know no, that was righteous. I have nothing to feel guilty about. So judge away, my beautiful friends, because there's narcissists out here to round up. Peace and love from Pine City, Minnesota, USA. Have a good night or day, wherever you're at.